Today, I'm making 3-star chef Gordon Ramsay's farfalle pasta with brown butter, peas, and sage. At the end, I'll give this recipe a 10-star taste rating and my personal 10-star pita rating, so we can find out, is this recipe worth it? I'll need farfalle pasta, butter, Parmesan cheese, sage, fresh peas, and garlic. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'll start to get my mise en place together. 3 cloves of garlic. I'll peel these up so I can get them minced. Just a nice small mince cut on these, trying to be consistent in size. 200 grams of butter, and I'll go ahead and cut this butter down a bit. I don't know, I probably don't have to do this, but it's a bit of a habit, and I'll just wrap this up in its packaging and set it aside. 400 grams of farfalle pasta, which means butterfly in Italian, but the bag is 500 grams, which means I have 100 grams left over. I'm just saying, this upsets me a bit. I'll need 250 grams of fresh peas, not frozen, supposedly. I'll get into that later, but 100% you can use frozen peas for this if you don't have fresh. If you do use fresh, you want to make sure you wash them to get off these little bits like this here. 80 grams of Parmesan cheese, finely grated, on my box grater so I can have a fun time cleaning this later. Doesn't everybody love to clean a box grater? I'll separate a bit of this Parmesan cheese for garnish later. Now sage. Oh, sage. This was a challenge to find actually. I almost made this recipe with dried sage, but luckily I was able to get my hands on some fresh stuff. I'll just separate the leaves, and that's the last of our mise en place. I'm putting a pot here to have a look to see how much of the farfalle pasta fills up this pot. The recipe says the water should just be enough to go over the pasta a bit, so the water can become very starchy. Onto the burner to get that water hot, which will take a bit, so I'll start on my butter sauce. Large pan onto the burner, onto a high-ish heat. I'll grab a pan that's big enough to fit all of my pasta in later. I'll go into the pan with my butter so I can create brown butter. So aromatic and delicious, and a very good pairing along with sage, which makes me feel like this is more of a wintry style pasta. And I'm doing this pretty slow. Butter is an expensive ingredient, at least for me, so I'm not looking to ruin 200 grams of butter and have to start over. I can smell that sweet, nutty aroma now, so this butter is ready. You can see the milk solids in the butter have turned brown, hence brown butter. So the garlic can cook, I'll add this to the brown butter right away. I'll throw in the sage as well so it can fry up a bit and infuse its flavor. After I've mixed this sage and garlic in, I'll just be setting this to the side to sit while I finish cooking the pasta. My water is nearly there. I'll go ahead and salt this to taste like the ocean. Roll and boil, so it's time to add the farfalle pasta. With a good mix to keep the pasta from sticking together in a clump. You can see that I have just enough water in here to cook the pasta, so this is going to be a nice starchy water for the sauce. I'll drain the pasta and be careful to reserve some of the pasta water and set that to the side. I'll need that for the sauce. With the pasta cooked, it's time to finish the sauce, so I'll add a ladle full of this pasta water along with all of my peas. I'll bring this up to a simmer and then start looking for these to finish in as quick as 1 or 2 minutes. It's been about 3 minutes and I give this a taste. These aren't done, and I didn't really think they would be. I'm not sure if I have super unripe peas. The recipe should be for frozen peas, or I don't know, but we are abandoning the time frame set in the recipe. These peas have been cooking for nearly 10 minutes. One more taste, and finally, these peas are soft and we're ready to go. I'll go in with my pasta and get that mixed in here. I had a little bit of trouble because the pasta sat for a bit longer than expected while those peas were cooking. I also added my Parmesan cheese, but I forgot to show it, so here's an empty bowl as proof. I'll keep mixing this up and add about half a ladle of that pasta water to loosen this up a bit as I'm mixing. This looks great though and smells even better. Before I plate, I'll taste for salt, and it needs a bit, so I'll go ahead and just add a touch. I'll plate this pasta up in a beautiful white bowl. I'll finish it with a bit of fresh cracked black pepper, and then some of that Parmesan cheese that I set to the side. This looks pretty accurate to the photo from the recipe, so that's really good, especially for a cookbook that's aimed at home cooks. Time to taste. First bite. This is tasty. It's buttery and nutty. I'm very happy with this. It's not overwhelming in any way. I thought that the butter would feel like a bit too much, but it's fine. The sage is in the background, but not overwhelming, and those peas are a great pop of freshness that the dish needs. If you love butter and cheese pasta, this is a winner. I would prefer a note of sour in here somewhere, but it's butter pasta. It is what it is. I've actually added a squeeze of lemon to mine a little bit later, and I prefer it that way, but maybe not for everybody. Taste rating, 8 out of 10. This is a simple and easy, good dish, and I think it's perfect for a family. Kids can easily eat this if you can get them to eat their peas. Pita rating, 8 out of 10. Butter and Parmesan cheese aren't exactly cheap, and the instructions for the peas, I think it should have recommended frozen over fresh. Was it worth it? Yes. Make this, then let me know what your personal taste rating and pita rating is in the comments.